talk I'm going to give today has a lot to do with the spiritual teachers that I've gone to through books and video and listening to this week. And I just wanted to mention them because even though I am letting Spirit move me with what I'm saying, I know I'm telling you their words that I've read. So I had help this week. I had help from Pema Chodron and from Paul Selig and from Michael Singer and from my friend Kathleen in Colorado. All these people are wise and wonderful, and all the other teachers I've had influenced me and helped me with my understanding of Spirit. So you are going to hear me expressing, but I want you to know that you're also hearing the benefit of all of these amazing teachers. You are expressed in truth. Whatever abilities that you have been gifted with, and also whatever you see before you that must be done because it is being presented to you to do, that is you expressing. That is your divine self. It is part of your divinity expressing. And because you are divine expression, just the fact that you're going to allow yourself to express this, that's going to lift the people around you. It lifts the people because they see you expressing as divinity. Step by step, word by word, whatever you're doing. And also because as you know yourself as divine expression, like when you actually feel that, like, yes, I am divinity, when you see them, you lift them up because you cannot know yourself as divine unless you also know the people that are out there with you as divinity. So just by the nature of you knowing lifts them, whether they see that or not, and especially if they see it. There's something about seeing yourself as known as divinity in somebody's eyes that works in a very beautiful way to awaken that or recognize that. It's just the same as when you know somebody loves you and you see that in their eyes, you feel loved and you love. It's the same about that expression of divinity. That is the real you and the true you. All right, so I had an interesting week. For me, Monday was this beautiful, peaceful, glorious day. I knew I was divinity, and everywhere I went, people were divine. And then something happened. I woke up Tuesday, and I felt different. I just woke up feeling some of the fear and some of the anxiety. And I thought, well, what the heck happened? What I realized was I did that thing, and everybody's innocent. I'm innocent, and whatever's going around, the feelings and everything, but of don't bite the hook. Don't bite the hook. So what's the hook? The hook is fear. Fear, which always tries to create more fear and separation. That's the hook. And I bite on the hook of fear because there's some bait there. And it's not like it's obvious. It's not like I see a big hook hanging in the sky and I go, yeah, I'm going to bite that hook and feel fear. No, the bait is sneaky and tricky. The bait is something like righteous anger. Have you felt righteously anger? That is a very attractive bait. And oh my gosh, I have some righteous anger, and I'm going to chomp on that thought, and then, ouch, I have bitten that hook, and I am on a spiral of fear and separation, and it can get worse from there. And once you've bitten through to the nasty hook of fear and separation, this is what happens to me almost every time I start with righteous anger. I bite the hook of fear, and then another piece of bait comes up, which is, you'd think it's the opposite of righteous anger. It says, oh no, I've been acting like a fool. I'm the one who's wrong. I'm wrong. They're right. And I go down, there's a little bait about, oh, I am the scum of the earth. I am not the great person here. And I'm wrong. So I bite that bait, and then I feel that hook again of fear and separation. The funny thing is that each of us have different lures or bait that appeal to us, and it's not so obvious. It's not like my bait is labeled righteous anger or low self-esteem. It doesn't look like that. The bait looks like something else, and we all have different bait. The interesting thing, I think, is that the bait of I'm right, you're wrong, feels the same as I'm wrong, you're right. Like that, you get through to chomping on the hook, and the hook feels the same. It's fear and separation. So I just noticed that. Now, what I want to teach, a practical application, is this talk is about elevate your broadcast. So going back to what the first teaching I talked about, that we are truth. We are expressed as truth, and we are divinity expressing. How are we going to elevate our broadcast? The steps I have are this. How we elevate, how we lift up, we start with where you are. So start with where you are, 1. 2, knowing. 3, loving. 4, surrendering. 5, choosing. Now I'll go into a little detail with those. Start where you are. That means on Tuesday morning, when I wake up and I'm feeling anxious, I start with where I am. I stop and do some impartial self-observation. I take a moment and see what's happening. I look into my heart and my mind, and I see what is going on with me. I spend a little time noticing what I'm feeling in my mind, in my heart, and in my body. I spend a little time thinking about what happened the day before and observing with love and as much neutrality as I can bring to it. Let's face it, as much lack of judgment as I can look at myself with. So I'm going to start with starting where I am, accepting where I am. Oh, I woke up a little I don't feel my broadcasting love. So this is where I am now, and I'm okay with that. So you start where you are. The second part, and all of these things don't need to be in order. They're just things that work. They're tools that work to elevate your broadcast. So just because I numbered them doesn't mean you have to do them in order. The second thing I want to talk about is knowing. Going to knowing can elevate our broadcast in an instant like a miracle. Because knowing is different than knowledge or thinking. An exercise in knowing is, what if you went to the store without a list and you just stopped and thought about, what is that I need? And you found that part of you that was knowing and got what you needed. It's an exercise that helps you find the seat of your soul, the knowing. A bigger way is to say, how about if I showed up to this conversation at work with knowing that I really trusted myself to know what I needed, that everything I had inside me, I needed. And I might start by saying, okay, what do I need to bring? What's my knowing? All right, I need to get that report or whatever it is. And then I'm showing up to my job, and I've got a sense of knowing instead of, which I confess I often do, a whole bunch of things I need to do, things I need to say, a list, a feeling of, oh my God, there's so many things, I can't possibly get all this. That is so me. But if I can remember to go with knowing, it's all a lot better for everybody. Because I trust that the knowingness in me will have everything I need, and the knowingness in the people I'm meeting with will have everything that we all need, especially when we're willing to take time, be in the moment, and help each other get there. The third tool is loving. Loving also elevates our broadcast in a beautiful way. And the amazing thing is that everybody I know and everybody I know about has someone they have felt love from and someone they can send love to. So anytime on Tuesday morning, for example, I could have picked one person that I know loves me and that I love, and I could visualize their beautiful face in front of me, and I could send love. When I send love, I feel it as a warmth, and I like to visualize it as a light, but mostly I say the word. I see their face and I think, I love you. And immediately my broadcast is elevated as soon as I start loving. It's a beautiful exercise. I would guess, and I think this is definitely proven by science, that if I had anxiety or high blood pressure or I was breathing fast, my body would calm and I would feel better. My heart would be beating more regularly. My breathing would be calm and even, and I would feel better if we were measuring all those things. So let's say on Tuesday morning when I woke up, none of those things worked very well. I saw where I was. I tried to find some knowing. I just couldn't really get it. And I thought of people I loved, and I have them and I love them, but I still felt funky and anxious. This is one of my favorite things. You can surrender. Surrender to pure source. And I like that phrase, pure source, because it goes right to all of the words that we have for God and Creator. Pure source. Kind of like cutting through what I like to call the spiritual upline to the Creator, or your source, the source of it, the source of all of us. So surrendering to pure source is standing, sitting, being in your whole self, saying, here I am, the way I am, whatever's going on, feelings of anxiety, feelings of love, whatever personal mix there is, and I am surrendering to pure source. That is a very high intention, and having that intention immediately connects you to pure source. And even if you don't feel it immediately, because you might not feel it immediately, but having the intention to connect to pure source connects you. And I can attest to this. You will notice later on. Even if you do not feel it in the minute, you will notice it later on, because that is something that never gets ignored. It's like when Rachel was talking about being in the boat, this little boat, when you're saying, hey, God, are you here? Pure source is always there, and whenever we choose that connection, we have it. The last thing I want to talk about is choosing. Choosing to do these things. Free will is a wonderful gift. We are always in free will. We can always choose. So the other side of the free will equation is that means when I am sitting in a little bit of misery, that there is just a part of me that is forgotten to choose and is a little stuck in misery. I'm not saying things that make experiencing feelings is a bad thing. I'm talking about the actual being stuck in misery and not choosing to get out of that. And that's also perfect, because sometimes not even sometimes, everything that happens is always perfectly orchestrated for our spiritual evolution. And you know how sometimes you get the lesson as a feather, as a brick, as a tsunami, right? So we all get to take our time with everything. So choosing is something to remember. It's also part of a spiritual practice in that the practice that I'm reading about, that we're reading in The Untethered Soul, the book by Michael Singer, is the practice of finding the part of you that chooses, finding the seat of the soul. And the question you ask is, who is here? Like, who am I? Who is here? It's a question you keep asking, and the practice is you ask it, and then you find this connection of who you are. You are not your feelings. You are not your thoughts. You are not the person who gets sucked up into the drama. Instead, you are this divinity, the true self, the true source. My friend Kathleen was reminding me that she found this teaching. We lived in Boulder together, and we would go to some satsangs, and one of the teachers there said, okay, here's what you do. You sit and you say, who am I? And she said that she asked, who am I, 3 times in a row. For whatever reason, it zapped her. She got that. She asked, and she was able to feel that connection to pure source and who she was. So I offer you that experience. It didn't happen as fast for me, and it does happen, but not the same way. I want to give you the chance to try that. Now, just a little recap. This is about elevating our broadcast, and it's our job, and it's our wonderful job because we are elevating the world when we elevate our broadcast. Start where you are. Experiment with your knowing. Find your knowing. Find your loving. Find the surrendering. And keep choosing. And I want to talk a little bit about Palm Sunday, because today is Palm Sunday. And that is a part of our Christian theology. It's a beautiful story. The part that I like about it is this: thinking about Jesus as a way shower. Jesus as a way shower. And thinking about him actually as a person, Jesus of Nazareth, in this story, one of the things I believe comes from my knowing is that Jesus was the thing about Jesus, he was one of the people who, as he was fully realized as a spiritual being, that you could look in his eye and he would know you were spirit. He would see the truth in you as divinity expressing. So I'm just calling that a twinkle in his eye. When you went up to Jesus, you saw that twinkle and you were like, yeah, I am that. And he is too. And to me, that's what Palm Sunday is about. Jesus rode into town saying, I know I am divine, and I know you are too. And so the people were all excited and waving the palm fronds and saying, I know you are divine, and we are too in your presence, because I can see that you know I'm divine in your eyes. And over the years, sometimes there were less people who remembered the twinkle. The story changed to, we know you are divine, Hosanna. So in unity, we always remember the twinkle. We reclaim our divinity for each other as we say to one another, I know I am divine, and you are too. I know you are divine, and I am too. I can see that in your eyes, and you can see it in mine. Well, it's the time for the virtual offering. If you want to think about it, if some people like to give online, some people like to have their bank send a check, some people like to write checks. We appreciate all of it. And you can go on our website and go to a donate page. At the front page, go to the donate button, hit donate. It will lead you through being able to donate. We appreciate your support at this time, and we'll together say, or I'll say the affirmation. You guys can say it with me, though lots of you have it memorized. We'll just say this. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I thankfully acknowledge God as my source, and I thankfully acknowledge some more Kyle, beautiful, special music.
Thank you. My challenge for everyone today is to listen to your favorite song as loud as you can. I know I've been in a funk lately, and that helps me a lot, just having a little dance party in my living room. So I challenge you to do the same, and this is one